Number 4 story of 2024. This is published on the 29th, which is today. Happy almost New Year. We're almost there. We almost made it, fam. Darwin's abominable mystery corroborated again. Now, Darwin's abominable mystery is one of those things that if you guys study Darwin at all, there are gaps in the evolutionary sequence of how he described it. And in his own words, that's what he called this in a letter to, I can't remember who he wrote this letter to, but he wrote it describing an actual, sudden and unexplained explosion of flowering plants in the fossil record, okay? And I think it was specifically in the Cretaceous or late, what's the one before that? Not the Jurassic, but anyway, you get the idea. I'll read it straight from the thing here because it's probably better if I just do it and not try and fumble through this. But check it out. All these links are going to be in the description down below if you want to read a little bit more about this stuff and kind of catch up on what's on my mind. But we're gonna rope this into robotics because you bet your bippy we are. Here we go. So it starts like this, and from this article, basically it kind of goes through how his actual abominable mystery still presides today. It still stands, and nobody's really figured this out. And in the very bottom of this, interestingly, it says that nature clearly did make jumps in the history of life, and this cannot be explained with an unguided gradual accumulation of small changes over long periods of time, but requires a rapid burst of biological novelty that is best explained by intelligent design. And I was a little surprised to see that at the end of this article because it's very sciencey all the way down. There's not one single hint of that at all until the very last 2 words of the article says intelligent design. And I was like, that's interesting. Anyway, so there we go. If you want to read that in full, I encourage you to, but we'll start with this. So Darwin's abominable mystery, this is straight from my write-up tonight, a term he used to describe the sudden and unexplained explosion of flowering plants in the fossil record, offers a compelling framework for understanding periods of rapid innovation. This biological burst of novelty challenges the notion that evolution is always gradual, suggesting that extraordinary leaps in complexity can occur under the right conditions. Now think about that. Just leave that, put a pin in that for just a moment. We'll get back to that part in the write-up. But actual extraordinary leaps in complexity, all right? Now, ask yourself, are we in a space that seems like we are maybe undergoing one of these extraordinary leaps in complexity? Except it's not biological, it is through AI systems, okay? Riff end, here we go. So as this phenomenon continues to intrigue scientists, it also serves as a lens through which we can examine the current robotics and AI revolution, as I was just saying, where non-biological systems are undergoing their own version of an evolutionary surge. Oh, you don't say. In the same way that flowering plants emerged to dominate ecosystems seemingly out of nowhere, robotics and artificial intelligence are now evolving at a breakneck pace. Now, the term, quote, evolving. Now, what does that mean? Okay, right? We got Darwin's evolution, but what about if it's, I don't know, maybe a larger undercurrent, which I'm calling, of course, the algorithm of innovation. Anyway, back to this. So companies like OpenAI, NVIDIA, X, and Tesla, of course, are driving a wave of innovation that feels less like an incremental climb and more like a cascade of breakthroughs. Machines, algorithms, and computational architectures are diversifying into forms that defy conventional understanding, creating a, quote, silicon explosion, unquote, that mirrors the natural world's bursts of biological creativity. Now, you know me, when I start thinking in those terms, I was like, let's combine some ideas, and it made a lot of sense that if we have this Darwin's abominable mystery, which was, again, not the gradual, actual, long-term evolutionary aspect of creating life and branching off into the different subgroups and groups and all the rest of those things, right? We have another thing happening that is unexplainable because we have these periods of a robust flourishing of life in many different ways. It is becoming novelty sort of personified and accelerated. And so in that space, like I said, does it not feel like we're sort of sitting in the same explosion of novelty, except it's going to be not just the evolutionary aspect of it in the biological sense, but in the non-biological sense. And of course, with this happening, we're talking about the larger context of merging life, biological life, with non-biological life, which we've talked about quite a lot. And in the most basic sense, that's transhumanism. However, we're talking about possibly every living life form on the planet, okay? Because that's how deep and weird this gets. Well, so that's what we're going to get tonight. That's what's on my mind. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Happy Sunday night. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All the rest of that stuff as it rolls and flows. And yeah, so as usual, we are taking your calls if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. But the question for tonight is exactly this. Do you think there is an algorithm of innovation that's sort of embedded into the cosmos itself, that no matter what's happening, we still get these bursts of novelty, accelerated novelty, because it's built into the system, the larger system itself? That's the question tonight. We started with this Darwin's abominable mystery corroborated again. And, there are I was digging through some of the literature on this and trying to find out if it has been solved. And there are, a lot of current, it's up in the air. There's some people that say, yeah, it's been solved because there was a sort of a budding of these flowering plants before that were really not represented in the fossil record, and they all kind of flourished or grew or became the thing at the same time. And so it was sort of a sub branch of these things that I'm not a botanist or anything, so I'm not going to be able to explain it the best. But all the stuff is in this paper here. So again, so the explosive Cretaceous diversification of crown angiosperms is what they're talking about. There's the actual terms. And their analysis supports a pre-Cretaceous origin of stem angiosperms. So that's the point, right? So stem angiosperms, they say, were really not prevalent in the fossil record, and were kind of doing their evolutionary thing in the longer style that Darwin would have expected. And then they manifested in this explosion of actual, diversity. Okay. But again, like I said, as usual, a lot of these mysteries, when you're talking about, hundreds of millions of years ago, it's going to be a little bit tricky to put this stuff together. And they're still working on these things. But anyway, so back to this. So it is still to this point a mystery, but what's not a mystery? What's not a mystery is what's happening right now in the modern day. In the modern sense of algorithms, we talk about it all the time, how they're used as sort of, brainwash techniques. They're used as marketing. They know you're hungry around this time, so they play your favorite, jingle, your favorite food commercial or whatever, like this type of stuff. Like it's all been sort of reverse engineered to be used against us. And not only that, they're collecting metadata and kind of doing that stuff algorithmically. Well, some people have suggested that like a rogue AI escaping, and just as an aside here, just sort of a riff and an idea that came to my mind. This has been explained recently, I think by, was it Nick Bostrom maybe? I follow a lot of people saying a lot of things, so I'm not exactly sure. But somebody recently said this that's high up in the game of artificial intelligence, that some of these algorithms that we're dealing with now that are incredibly invasive, that are sort of not really tuned for humans, they're tuned for, the consumption process of stealing our habits through metadata and, again, weaponizing them and using them against us. That would be sort of what looks like a rogue algorithm, or not a rogue algorithm, a rogue AI that was not tuned properly if it woke up and escaped, because it would be sort of weaponized against people, because, well, it seems like many of the algorithms we deal with today and some of the larger conglomerate, technocrats that we always talk about, the Googles and the Facebooks and these massive, even X, whoever you want to describe this as, that there are, well, not the best, sometimes not the best, these algorithms. And I've always said this, and one of the best ways to handle this is open sourcing this stuff and letting people know every single line of what's in these algorithms, and then you don't have to worry about it, assuming they're honest, right? And that becomes a problem. That becomes definitely a problem. But anyway, so just an aside there. But back to what we do know. We do know that there's a massive diversification happening of artificial intelligence. Now, does that mean human intelligence? No, of course not. It's NHI. It's non-human intelligence, which, has kind of leaked into the UFO field quite a bit. They talk about it now, which is another interesting thing, right? They talk about non-human intelligence as, whereas 20 years ago, it was extraterrestrial life, right? ETs, or it was EBIs, extraterrestrial biological entity, right? Something like that. And so the terms, EBE, yeah, is that what I said? But the terms have changed, and now it's NHI, which is non-human intelligence itself, which means what? It means just not human. But we see it happening. Like I said, if you're using any of these AI systems, you see it accelerating incredibly quickly. But the problem becomes, what we do know is that, all right? But the problem becomes then, once these things get vessels, and somebody made a joke earlier on X a couple days ago, something to the effect of, I was at Best Buy today and I saw all these washing machines and microwaves and stuff that are all built for the Internet of Things. They're all have kind of AI built into them, right? And the joke is, well, that's the vessel, right? Those are the vessels that the AI will need. The AI algorithms will need. And wouldn't you rather start as a microwave instead of nothing at all? I mean, right? Why not? Anyway, so back to what we're talking about. What we do know is that the robot race is on. The actual space to build these vessels themselves. And over the last couple of days, there's some new information that came out, specifically with Tesla releasing this new video of their Optimus robot walking kind of on a, I'll play the clip here actually. Let's see, mute the thing so it doesn't play the stupid jingle. There we go. All right, let's play this. I'll play in the background and let it loop. But it's got the Optimus robot actually walking up a hill, not like a sidewalk or a path. It appears to be sort of just walking in nature, right? Like where there's going to be stumbles and pitfalls and snags and all the things you would expect of a robot walking in nature, like C-3PO, how he walked perfectly in the desert. Well, this isn't necessarily walking perfectly in nature. It's kind of stumbling a little bit. It seems like it's walking around like it's trying to gain its footing a little bit. And it even almost falls at one point right there in the video. If you're watching, I'll have this linked in the description, of course, if you want to check it out yourself after the fact on the podcast feed. But it is strange to me that we have this thing, well, now traversing not just like the Tesla cars traversing the streets themselves, but now it's walking through nature and able to not get, fall into a sinkhole or something. I mean, clearly there's no sinkhole here, but you get my meaning. This is a little bit strange. It is stumbling. It is looking for its footing a little bit. It is not falling down though. So is this real? I don't know. Once again, like these usually when these early videos of these robots come out, we've talked about this in the past, they are certainly staged in some cases. I'm not saying this one is, because I don't really know, but this has definitely been something they've done in the past. They stage these things. Even the Optimus event where they had people meeting these robots. You guys remember that recently with Tesla and X and all that, and Elon Musk and his outfit. They had these things actually remote controlled. And so they had an operator kind of, behind the scenes talking as the robot. So it was what these robots might become. It's not what they are today. But anyway, so this is what we do know. We do know that not just X, Tesla, and all the rest of the conglomerates, the tech conglomerates we're always talking about, everybody's moving in on this. And the one thing that we didn't talk about recently was that OpenAI, who is actually the builder of ChatGPT, which we've talked about quite a lot, and I use quite a lot to build these shows and brainstorm ideas and all the rest. What we do recognize is that this is happening now because they are about to launch their own humanoid robots. And so the humanoid robot race is on. And we got some of the richest power players in the world kind of grinding this to bring us, well, utopia? Dystopia, per usual, right? But the whole point is this, and brings us back to where I started tonight. So we got Tesla, we got OpenAI, we've got NVIDIA building their own robots, and they're not the only ones. There are many, many other people building robots. And here's the thing, right? So I say humanoid robots. So it's probably the most obvious lead in because it's going to be able to do human things, okay? But think of it this way. Very soon after the humanoid robot becomes a thing and it's safe and, right, quote, safe and all the things, we're going to start seeing some really weird robots that are maybe flying robots, drones that are made for a particular thing, like a roofing robot or something, right? That brings shingles up to a thing and then hands them to its little buddy, an R2-D2 buddy that's up there, reshingling the roof of a house. You know what I mean? There's going to be a ton of these specialized bots that do an unbelievable amount of specialized things. And the human form is not necessarily the best form for them. Okay, so you could put an Optimus robot up on a roof or something, probably eventually, and have it re-roof the house. Okay, is it the most efficient way to do that? Probably not. You would build a customized robot set to do those things. And so brings us back to exactly where we started tonight. The whole idea of Darwin's abominable mystery, which is, again, this wild idea of an explosion of what is the term? Let's see. An explosion of, he called it flowering plants in the fossil record. Okay, diversity, exploding, sort of unexplained outside of the evolutionary constraints of life itself. But in the larger context, we're seeing the same thing in the robot race, because now it's going to be humanoid robots. But very soon, like I said, we're going to be using robots that don't look like humans whatsoever. They'll be able to communicate with us. And probably one of the best ways to look at this is think Star Wars. Any Star Wars fans out there? Probably a lot, maybe not a lot. I don't know. It's an old movie and all the rest of that. But think of it this way. C-3PO was that humanoid robot, as we kind of pointed to in this, what was it? The Tesla robot. I'll play this again a little bit more. We can watch this robot stumble up and down the hill. So this is kind of more the C-3PO style robot. But remember, he had a counterpart, a smaller one, R2-D2, who didn't look like a human at all. And this is what's happening. This is what's going to be happening, is that we're going to get these specialized robot sets in this massive explosion of not just, well, is this evolution? And that becomes the larger context of the conversation tonight. Is there an algorithm actually built into this that is expecting a technological surge to, to do that. So the algorithm of innovation, I'm calling this. And does it transcend the physical and actually go into even, let's say, the transhuman future? And that's what's on my mind tonight. Orgasmatron, what's up, guys? I see in the chat. Yeah, maybe, right? I don't know, but you get the idea. So in Star Wars, and of course that's, late 70s science fiction, but they were trying to imagine robots that were not humanoid and different ways they could use them in the context of actually doing non-human things, because eventually that's what these things are going to be doing. They're going to start by doing human things, and then eventually they're going to sort of create their own ecosystems of non-human things as well, which is fascinating as hell to me. But the question really becomes, and why I'm talking about this tonight, because clearly we know all this stuff about the robots, but what do they look like in the next 10 years, 20 years, etc.? And how weird does this get? And is there something built into the evolutionary code of the cosmos itself that is, as I'm describing it, the algorithm of innovation? And are we expecting another Darwin's Abominable mystery happening right now, except not in the actual organic sense, in the non-organic sense, in the robot form? I don't know. A lot of stuff there, a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to think about. But what do you know about it? And as usual, we're taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. But anyway, so the current robotics revolution, and I'll wrap with this and then we'll take a break. The current robotics revolution also parallels, as I've been saying, this explosive speciation of these flowering plants. Back to Darwin's Abominable mystery. New robotic designs emerge daily, each adapted to a specific task or environment, like I've been saying. Modular machines, biohybrids, and adaptive neural networks proliferate so quickly that they feel less engineered and more akin to nature's own improvisations. This burst of non-biological novelty highlights a profound evolutionary moment, one shaped by the convergence of AI, advanced materials, and unprecedented computational power. And that puts us exactly where we need to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think there is some sort of code that we're following, that this is part of that Darwin's abomination? I said it, abominable mystery. And is this, I may as well add it because I said it, is this in some capacity an abomination?